Hello YouTube land. Today I am going to be going over my knife collection. This is all my EDC knives, all my fixed blades, all my folders. This won't be like every single knife I have. I'll probably do a separate video for my wood carving knives, but this is pretty much all the folders and fixed blades still have. I used to have more, but I got rid of some of them over the years. I wish I still had them now, but this is what's left. It's really crappy outside. I've been working 50, 60 hours a week, not a lot of time to do anything but work. So I figured this would be an easy video to put together. So we will go ahead and go over the knife collection. We're going to start off with folders, and the folders are under here. So let's clear off some of this stuff on the table. Alright, so this is the knife roll. I suppose I'll show you knife roll. This is the Olight knife roll. My girlfriend got me this for Christmas last year, and I've never had a storage device for knives. It works. It's probably not the best thing. The one thing I noticed with this is it doesn't like to close flat because the knives get in the way. But I mean, you're still able to latch it closed with the apparatus. You put this through the loop, and then it comes back on this thing and holds it closed. Plus there's elastic strap and Velcro. But that's where I keep a lot of them, in this here knife roll. This is going to be a long video. I mean, it's just how it's going to be. Probably start off with the less exciting stuff. This right here is my grandpa's pocket knife. I used to know, I looked up the information on this one time. I was having trouble finding it just a minute ago. But you can see all the use that he's gotten out of this. It's definitely old. It's Jaeger Bros. If somebody can read that and wants to look it up. I found them online before, and they weren't really worth anything too crazy, but just a knife that I'll probably keep forever, you know, sentimental value. My sister got me this knife, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. I've never used it. It's not really a knife you use. It has my initials on it, and it's just kind of a cheap Swiss Army knife style knife. So yeah, there's that. I suppose I'll throw in some utility blades. I had bought these for work. This is the Gerber utility knife. It's actually a really nice utility knife. Doesn't have a pocket clip, which was a big bummer, but I think they make these with pocket clips now. And you've got, you know, flathead, pry bar, nail puller, bottle opener, rope cutting slot. It's a good little utility blade. Everybody knows about the Milwaukee Fastback. I got the one with the bit driver. Really good utility blade. We'll go ahead and throw in multi-tools. Everybody knows the Gerber, or the SOG Power Pint. I use this at work a lot. The pliers is really nice. The tool set on this is not very great. The scissors are pretty crappy. Um, the file's okay. I use the flathead as a pick. This rope cutter, string cutter is pretty much useless. The awl kind of works. The knives will cut. The scissors are terrible, but I mean, in a pinch, it'll do stuff. I modified this to be a flathead, a little bit better of a flathead bit, so I have flathead driving capabilities. I'll just get this stuff out of the way. I got the Leatherman Free P4. Really like Leatherman. I used to have a Skeletool and a Wave, which both lost, and I used to have another one too. But this is the one I currently have, and I really like this. No multi-tool has the perfect tool set. There are things that I would change about this to make it perfect for me, but that being said, I love this platform that they put on the Free series and the Arc. I love the one-hand usage and capabilities on these. So yeah, if anyone wants a specific video on a specific knife or tool, let me know, I guess. We're just going to kind of run through the collection. But yeah, that's the Free P4 I bought when I was probably, let's see here, 16, 17 years ago maybe. It's a buck knife. It's a Chinese-made buck knife. I used to carry this all over the place. Pocket clip's gone. Has this little button here, and you can't open it or close it without holding that button. And I mean, even today it's solid. Still solid lockup, which is kind of funny. I used to have more buck knives. I had a friend that worked at Buck, and he said the quality control there wasn't the best, but you know, Buck has a spot in my heart since some of the first knives that I've ever owned. They're made in Idaho. Love Idaho and things that are made in Idaho, even though this one's made in China. Gas station knife somebody gave me. This knife is absolutely terrible. Look at the lock on it. The fake file work they put on the back. Yeah. This thing is absolutely terrible. The fake Damascus is like textured, like you can feel it. So yeah, that one's a real winner. I love Swiss Army knives. I got a Super Tinker and a Huntsman. I used to have more, but I lost them. I put some random titanium scales on my Super Tinker that I bought on Amazon. This is probably my favorite EDC Swiss Army knife. And I really like the Huntsman. These are some 3D printed scales I found on Etsy. And then these are the Fire Ant fire starters with the tinder and fire still. I think I have a short on my channel showing how that works. But with both of these, you still get your tweezers and everything. And these are plus scales, these blue ones, so you can throw a pin in there. Whenever you see the SAK plus scales, that's what that means. You get a pin slot, which I really like. That's pretty cool. This one's from Kellum Knives. I guess you call this a little pocket knife. But it has that string there to hold it closed. And then it opens up like that. And you have a nice little Scandi ground blade. It's not very practical. I've tried using it and carrying it. It's just not very practical. It's more of a novelty for me. But for doing quick small cuts, I guess you could carry it and use it. It's just not very practical having something dangling from your hand when you're trying to cut. You know what I mean? Now this, I really like optionals. Optionals are cool. They're slicey. This is the carve your own handle. Optional number 8. So you just get an optional with like a big barrel piece of wood, and you can get different types of wood, and then you carve it. This was cherry wood, but I antiqued it, a little antique wash to make it dark. Kind of looks like walnut now, but it's just your standard optional number 8. And yeah, I carved the handle and drilled a hole in it and carved some beads and put a little lanyard on it. I like optionals. They're good for carving and stuff. Just a simple little design. I feel like everybody needs like an optional in their collection. If you don't have one, you should get one. We're going to start off with the cheap stuff. The old Sport Pal stainless. You get a fork, knife. Ooh, that's sharp. Bottle opener, can opener combo. Yeah, that's a beauty, ain't it? Yeah, that cut me. I must have sharpened that. But yeah, you know, whatever. A little grab and go, little eat and go. This thing somebody gave me. I don't know if this is like an original or whatever. It's beat to crap though. If you haven't seen these, I forget what they're called. But yeah. It doesn't lock or anything. It's just a folded piece of metal with a blade in it, and yeah. So there's that. Civivi Elementum. I bought this just because I wanted to try out a Civivi, and the Elementum was, everybody was talking about it. I generally don't like carrying pocket knives this small, and I broke the tip. So I ended up grinding the back down to make a new tip. So, I mean, that tip is like a needle now. Really don't like this one. Not a big fan of the Elementum. Just gonna say it. Should probably go grab a Band-Aid now. Alrighty. We are back. Got a Band-Aid. This one's from work. This was the first pocket knife I ever bought for myself. I think I was like 16 when I got it. Little Uncle Henry. Nothing special. It's a little messed up. But you know, first pocket knife I ever bought for myself. Probably the first one I've ever had. So I have to keep that one. I got a case. I really like slip joints. I don't really have very many of them, and they're not as practical and easy to use. When I'm at work, I like to have a knife I can just flick out, use, close it, put it back, do all that with one hand. Nice and quick. Can't really do that with one of these, but this is the Trapper with the Wharncliffe blade instead of, I think they usually have 2 clip points, or a spay blade. Usually have a spay blade and then the clip. But it's really nice. I like it. Case Trapper, the Wharncliffe. This knife is from Kaiser. Forget what it's called. It's a double detent knife with the crazy fat carbon and Damascus. Double detent knife. I actually won this on a giveaway on Instagram. It's a fun little knife to play with. I really like the way the Kaiser's Damascus looks. Whatever this is called, if this is a raindrop or Odin's eye, not sure. But it's a looker. This would be like, you know, fancy knife, you know, when you're a dress knife. It's called the Fusa, F-O-O-S-A, Kaiser Fusa. I apologize for my hands being really dirty. I swear I scrub these things for ever. Just how busy we are at work, and it's hard to wear gloves all the time. And I scrub and I scrub and I scrub, and it's just what I'm left with. Optional number 6. I didn't realize this was a small optional when I bought it, so I just kept it. Not a big fan of the smaller one, but just a plain optional number 6. Got this at a garage sale. It's a Winchester canoe pattern slip joint. Winchester. Suppose we will do what I'm carrying real quick. I got Zero Tolerance 0308 in blackout. This is a really nice knife. I really like this thing. I love the stripes, however they did that. It's almost like a stone wash or acid wash. I have no idea, honestly. This one's a spendy knife. Probably my most expensive folding knife. Titanium frame lock with G10 scale. But I just love the style of this knife. Love the way it feels in the hand. Only Zero Tolerance I have, or have ever had, and I like Zero Tolerance's beefier models. Not a big fan of their smaller stuff. A lot of their old stuff I'm a huge fan of. I just made a video about this one not too long ago. That's the Wood Nymph. I pretty much carry this on my neck everywhere on my days off. So if you want to check that out, I have a little video on the Wood Nymph. This is a knife I've had for a really long time. The SOG Aegis. It's a assisted knife. I used this at work for a long time. You can see all the scratches on the blade. The lighting in here is not the greatest. I got all these lights on and still not that great. But there's your lock. Push it past the spring. Click the safety on. Won't open. It was a good little utility knife. Not sure what steel it was. Nothing, I'm certain it's nothing great. Gerber. This knife was like $20 or maybe less. For the price, it's not a bad knife. But I really like this design. I would really like if they made something like this with premium materials. Honestly. And came super sharp out of the box too. Like, it was really sharp. I'll try to find the name of this one real quick. That's the Gerber Zilch. And yeah, they're like 20 bucks on Amazon right now. First Spyderco I ever bought. And this is one of my favorite knives. It's the Crewwear in micarta PM2, Paramilitary 2. Absolutely love this knife. I love the way the micarta feels. I love the Crewwear steel. It's great steel. This is just a great design. I hated Spyderco for the longest time. Just didn't like the way their knives looked. And then I saw the Paramilitary 2 and I was like, oh, you know, that's kind of a cool knife. And then I saw the Crewwear version and micarta and I really wanted it. And they didn't have any. They weren't selling them. I think they made a batch of them. And there was no more for sale on any of the websites. So I bought it on eBay. And, you know, I overpaid for it by like $20 or $30. But now, when they came out with the next run of these, they were that much money. Like, they were 200 plus now. So I think when I first found out about this, these were like 170 or 180. But I'm pretty sure it's like a $200 plus knife nowadays. But yeah, if you've never had a Spyderco, I really like Spyderco now. I'm a big fan of them. They have some cool knives, and their designs have really grown on me. And this compression lock, I love this compression lock. So easy to use. all that room in there for debris to pass through, not to gunk up your lock or anything like that. So yeah, paramilitary 2. CRKT. I used to really like CRKT back way back in the day, before I was like a really big knife guy. And I was a fan of the Overlander when it came out, and I didn't know they made this, and I had an opportunity to get it really cheap, so I bought it. Nothing special. It's a cheap knife. It's so off center that the blade rubs on the scale, and I can't fix it. I've tried a number of times to fix it. If this, I would like this a lot more if it was bigger. It's just a little too small for what I like to carry on a daily basis, but it's a really good design. If you haven't seen the Overlander, check out the knife designer on Instagram. I forget his name. Schwartz. Yeah, Schwartz. He makes some really cool knives, fixed blade knives. He also designed a folder for tactile turn called the Archer. This is the Buck 110 Sport. I remember growing up, or Buck 112? Buck 112. Growing up, my dad had a Buck 110 or 112, and I was fascinated with that knife. It had the wood with the brass. No thumb studs, just had a nail nick. It was just a lockback knife, and it's really classy looking lockback knife. And when they came out with this, something about it I just really liked. Just the look of the black aluminum with the micarta and the thumb studs and the pocket clip. Something about this knife, I just love the way it looks. It's got, made in USA. It's got the Boss heat treat, and a lot of people don't like Buck knives, or they talk crap about them. And yeah, their quality control isn't very good, but they have a good heat treat, and they're good working knives. These aren't super expensive. I think I paid $120 for it. I bought an OTF. One of the only OTFs I have. It's Infinity. I don't know. It's probably just some crappy brand. D2 steel. I was having trouble with this thing firing. Not firing, but coming back in. Retracting. And I cleaned it out, and I haven't had a problem with that. Oh. See, there it is. If I'm doing this motion, like coming up or out when I come back in, specifically, it'll fail. But otherwise, it doesn't fail at all. Like, if you're just using it normal, won't fail. I don't have a lot of experience with OTFs or anything, but I think this was like, I think these were like $160. I can't remember now. I think the price on them went up. But yeah, that's Infinity. It might be Infinity Tactical. I can't carry OTFs where I live anyway, so. Kershaw. Kershaw is one of those brands that have been around. Everybody knows Kershaw. Even not knife people know what Kershaw is. This is the Iridium. Or no. This is the Heist. It has their version of the Axis lock. I can't remember what they call it. The Duralock, I think is what they call it. Duralock. Great blade shape. Just a cheap knife though. Mine's pretty loose. A lot of blade play on mine, side to side and back and forth. I tightened up the pivot pretty much as tight as I will allow it to be. And the action suffers because of that. So, I don't know. It just kind of sits in my collection. I might send it in. It's still usable. It's a cheaper knife, just a kind of a beater knife. Kershaw. I can't remember what this one's called. They have a couple different versions of this. There's one with a, I think it has a drop point. But it's a big slender knife, but I just love that design. The cleaver style blade with the choil, you can get like right up on there. Gives you lots of reach. Just a really interesting design. It's just G10 metal and D2. Just kind of a fun knife, and it's a good utility blade. The action on it's pretty good. I mean, this is just a cheap knife. I think they're like $50, maybe, give or take. But that's a fun one. I like that. I like Kershaw's. I like cheap knives, you know, good budget knife. I don't even want to show you guys this one. I ordered this just because it's really crappy. Tack Knives is the brand, just a little OTF. Yeah, pretty crappy. CRKT Provoke. You guys have probably all seen this before. Folding karambit design. I don't know why I bought this. This is the budget version in D2, and it's just polymer of some sort. It's a really cool design though, how it opens and closes. Like, I don't know, it's just neat. You can pocket deploy it, so it's got a clip right here that springs out, and when it's in your pocket, this part will catch you can pull this out on your pocket, and when you pull it out, it's deployed and ready to go. Off-grid knives. When I first saw this on, I think it was Metal Complex's channel, I was like, I want that. This is a big knife with a bayonet grind, liner lock. It's a pretty chunky guy. And I just love the design of this. It just looks freaking cool. And I love a big knife. Like, I love carrying this knife around. It's just super cool. Off-grid knives. I think it's that say 154 cm. And I don't know who OEMs these, but Off-grid knives have a bunch of cool original designs out there. And if you like this, you should check them out. They're pretty cool. They do have a smaller version of this for everyday carry, but I just everyday carry this one. So I like it so much. Everybody's seen the Cold Steel SR1 Light. This is a great beater knife. I brought the bevel way back, make it more slicey, but you can see what happened right there. Kind of got into the sharpening choil a little bit. Just a tank of a knife. You could do anything with this. Got the triad lock. Like if you had something to throw in a kit or a bug out bag or a kit or whatever, if you threw that in there, this you could use it like a fixed blade pretty much. Makes a good tactical option. Good outdoor option. It's just a thick, chunky knife. Like Cold Steel. Cold Steel's awesome. So I got the PM2, and then I wanted the PM3. Even though it's a little smaller than what I like to carry, this is a good knife. I got this one from Knives Plus, and they put a acid stonewash on the blade and the clip, and I don't know if you can see, but the hardware was heat colored. They heat it up, and it like turns this bronze color. Probably really don't need to explain this too much. It's just the smaller version of this knife. There they are together. I've had this guy for a long time. This is the Benchmade Osborne. I carried this at work for a really long time. This is an awesome knife. It's small, but you get more cutting edge with this than you do with the PM2, if I remember correctly. Just a little bit more cutting edge, even though it's a smaller knife. It's a nice slender carry. You get a lot of cutting performance, and this reverse Tonto blade shape is super useful. I love the blade shape on this one. This one's in the G10. One thing about this knife is the scales are super thin, and I dropped it, and that part of the scale just exploded off. So that's something to keep in mind. I know they have a warranty. I could probably send it in. I have voided that warranty, but I don't think they would know. The Cubit. This is a cool knife. I won this on Instagram too. It was like a Valentine's Day giveaway or something like that. Really great slicey knife. Thin geometry, good shape, neutral handle, button lock. It's a cool knife though. Civivi Cubit. I have wanted this knife ever since I saw it on Dutch Bushcraft Knives, DBK. I've been watching DBK forever. This is the Benchmade Freak, and boy is this a good knife. M4 steel, crossbar lock. The action on this is just super good. It's slightly off center. But for $200, I think is what I paid for it. Like, a lot of Benchmade stuff is super overpriced, but this I feel like was a good deal. At least a fair price. I love the way the G10 looks with the red liners, and the cutting performance you get out of M4 is just so much cutting, edge retention. I don't know if this is the old version or not, but if you've seen the one on DBK, they beat the heck out of that knife, and that was the main reason why I wanted this. And both of these knives were on their video when they were testing out folders, and these were the toughest ones that they had that survived, and that was why I wanted it. I wanted it like a survival knife folder that I could carry around, and you know, if something happened, I'd have something in my pocket that would be super tough. And that was why I bought these two knives. And that wraps up the knife roll. So let's move on to the other ones. Tops machete knife, designed by Joe Flowers. Can I fit that in the frame? Bought this a really long time ago. Got this, for the zombie apocalypse. Way back in the day. I think there's a shorter version of this too. Yeah, I use this for yard work. Honestly, I haven't used it a whole lot. I've tried using it out in the woods and stuff, and it's just not very practical for what I need to do out in the woods. Like, there are things that chop way better, things that cut better. So I just really wasn't really as useful to me. It is good for yard work around the house and stuff, around the property. Gotta love Joe Flowers. He designs a lot of cool knives, and he's a crazy guy. This was another one I bought for the zombie apocalypse. Cold steel. I don't even know what this thing's called. This thing's ridiculous, though. Absolutely ridiculous. It's got a really long handle. Yeah. More of a novelty item, but when the zombie apocalypse happens, this will be useful. The sheath's got a shoulder carry strap, so you can run around like a ninja. I did forget this folder. This is the 80/20. 20.5. I just really wanted the knife, a Demco, and I couldn't afford to get the more expensive ones, and so I bought the cheap one in D2 that came with Grivery scales, and it just, for the price, it just didn't feel like it was worth the price. It's a good utility knife. It's a good work knife. So I bought these aluminum scales, like August Engineering or something, and they're thicker than the original scales, so you get a better grip, a fuller grip. You can see that the pins are inside of the scale a little bit. So it's thicker, and then I got Flytanium brass backspacer and a Lich titanium clip for it. Yeah, it's kind of silly, but I don't know. I like it. Fan of the tracker knives. Got the mini tracker. Basically just a cool EDC knife. I've tried doing a lot, like wood carving and survival tasks with this, and they just skimp you on the handle too much. It is super uncomfortable doing a lot of work with this. But you could use it as a skinning knife. You can notch with it and do feather sticks with the little transition there. But it's basically just a cool EDC knife. Just bringing it out to do a quick cut or whatever, and then put it back. But it is a chunky little guy. I absolutely love this knife. The Silent Hero 4. Great EDC fixed blade. Great woods knife, hiking knife. This knife will basically fit any role. If you want it for hunting, tactical use, outdoor use, it can fill all those roles. Not as good for carving, but it can do it. You'd probably want a fatter handle for that, but definitely does it all. I threw this ulti clip on it, and I like carrying it in my pocket with the ulti clip a lot more, and the belt straps it comes with, because I just don't like how it prints on your clothes and sticks out, personally. But it is an option. You can use that or buy an ulti clip for it. Great sheath, great knife. Silent Hero 4, one of my favorites. There's another one I'm carrying on me. I did a video on this not too long ago. The MKM Trezola Pocket Fixed Blade. So this one has a Kydex sheath that carries like the tops where it's horizontal on your belt, but this one doesn't show on your clothes. It kind of hides away. And so I carry this one a lot on my belt. But yeah, I have a video on that if you want to check it out. I love this knife. Great EDC knife. Just a good knife. Magna cut steel. The bush dagger, primitive bush dagger. This was designed by the guy from Dual Survival, Joe. I can't remember his name, but this is marketed as an EDC knife that can be a survival knife at the same time. It has a unique sheath that goes on your belt, carry it on your side or whatever. It's kind of a cool knife. I haven't really used it too much, but it's unique, and I like it. Different. The other one I have that's a Condor is the Bush Lore. This isn't the original sheath. I just like this sheath more than the one it comes with. And this was my camping bushcraft knife for a long time. It's based off of the Ray Mears knife. I can't remember what that one's called, but I mean, it's a pretty basic bushcraft design. Probably one of the best. A lot of companies make something very similar to this, where it's neutral, you know, flared, a little rounded here, and then like a spear point blade shape. There's a reason that companies make a knife in this pattern. It's really good. And this just happens to be a cheaper alternative to some of the other options, like the Ray Mears knife or LT Wright or whoever else does it. Condors are good, affordable tools. That's the bush lore. This is the original sheath for that bush lore, and this is just a Mora classic. Just a Mora classic. I remember back in early 2000s watching Dual Survival, and Cody Lundeen had one of these on his neck. And it just shows you don't need a nice expensive knife. You can do everything you need to do with this $20 knife. It comes razor sharp from the factory. You have a Scandi grind. I prefer knives most of the time without guards, and a neutral handle. And it's just a classic knife. So if you're looking for a cheap bushcraft knife and you don't want to spend a lot of money, get a Mora. There's other types of Moras out there. They're great affordable knives. These were my grandpa's. My grandpa's hunting knives. So I'm not sure who makes these, but I know they don't make these anymore. Not in USA. These ones were made in USA, and he was a part of the North American Hunting Club. And I don't know if he just had like a high membership in there and got this through his membership, or if he bought these or won them. I don't really know the whole story. But yeah, they're made in USA. Western USA number. Oh, it's because he's a life member, I think. And he used these for hunting. It's aluminum and stacked leather. And I have no idea what the steel is. These are old, so definitely wasn't, a super modern steel or a modern steel at all. But you can see it's just a classic hunting knife. One thing that makes a hunting knife is usually it has a lot of belly. And these do have a lot of belly. And guards. Because when you're in an animal, you don't want to be sliding and slipping around because your handle gets all wet for some reason and end up cutting yourself. So I have not used these ever. My grandpa used them a lot. I really think they're cool. Plastic inserts on the sheath. It is a leather sheath, but that kind of makes it feel cheap. But they were good enough for Grandpa, so they're good enough for me, for sure. So, going back to this knife, it's got the belly, drop points are good hunting knife shapes. It's got the guard, and then it gets skinny right here. And that gives you more control over the blade. Doing fine stuff, fine detail work, turning your blade and whatnot, gives you more, accuracy and control over whatever it is you're doing. So a lot of hunting knives have a skinny neck up here, and that's why. Usually knives that aren't specifically geared towards hunting are going to be fatter up there. for a fuller handle, you know, fill your hand, be comfortable. So that one's a fat handle and it gets a little skinnier up there. This is a Liuku. I'm in the process of regrinding these flat, and I just never finished. But these are from Kellum Knives. They're called Liukus, and it's a traditional Sami, Sami, like Sami, Scandinavian style knives. Curly birch, reindeer antler, and then a little strip of stacked leather in there, or just a piece of leather. And the wood grain is beautiful. Scandi ground edges. I really like this for food prep. If I'm camping, it's a good food prep knife. You can delimb small trees, bushes, and stuff with this guy, and basically do all your camp chores with this. And then save this blade nice and sharp for whittling, or all the fine detail work if you were to use these for hunting knives. But yeah, those are Liukus. I'm a big fan of Scandinavian stuff. The downside with this one is carrying it on your belt. It gets all floppy because it's so big, long, and heavy. You could make like a thigh strap or something. But with the whole Kellum, I've had this knife for a very long time. And I absolutely love this knife. Probably my favorite knife. Honestly, it's just a Kellum Knives Puko. It's their long Puko. I believe it's a 5-inch blade. But this handle is my favorite knife handle ever. You know, no guard. Has a pretty good shape. Gets fat, slender down here. Think it's birch burl handle or curly birch. It might be Arctic birch. I can't remember. Some sort of birch. But the wood grain is just beautiful. I mean, look at it. Scandinavian ground, Scandi grind. I have abused and used the crap out of this knife. It's lightweight. It's got a good blade length. It's super comfortable. I love this. I love this knife. I like straight backed blades. I like Scandi ground blades. I love the sheath. I did a little leather wrap here so I can do a quick wrap this around my belt and belt loop, and then stick the end of the knife in there like that, and then it hangs on my belt loop. And then when you want to take it off, you just do that. And then you also get some cordage if you need to want to do like a bow drill, or you need to tie something up, get some leather cordage out of the deal. I have batoned a lot of wood with this. Definitely don't recommend doing that with a knife like this, but it handled it. I am developing a little crack in the handle, and it's probably from doing the batoning. It's still holding strong though, and I feel like as long as I don't do anything stupid with it, it'll be just fine. More Eldris. I really like the idea and the concept of this knife, but after I bought it, after a couple months, I didn't use it too much. But it is a cool knife. I like the dual grind they have here. Flat Scandi here for cutting wood and stuff, and then it gets this thinner on the top, making it a little bit more slicey. You get a fat handle you can grab onto. classic Mora, you know, they use polymer for their handles and their sheaths, but they're super affordable. This material is really durable, and it had a little fire steel, and you can just carry it on your neck. And I use survivor cord, so it's kind of like a little survival kit on your neck. CRKT Razzle Necks. This is an interesting knife. This is good. I use this around the house, around the property. You can chop with it. You can scrape with it. You can use it like a pry bar. It's kind of like a multi-tool. It's really cool. I messed up the corner there and it broke because I was throwing it, and I rounded it off there. Which might have happened anyway over time, sharpening it maybe. But I kind of like it because then it gives you that corner. And like a big belly corner there. It's just an interesting design. It's kind of fun. The sheath, I don't like it. I don't like how it carries. It's supposed to like put this on your belt or something, and I don't know, it's always flopping around and doesn't stay put. So the sheath and the carry method is kind of not good. But it's an interesting knife, interesting design. I bought this knife when I was like 20 years old, maybe 21, 22. They don't make this anymore. The CRKT, can't remember what this knife was called. It had a polymer handle with like tread design for like letting mud and water slip through it. It had a Tonto edge. And I was abusing knives a lot back then, and I was throwing it, and the handle just broke and fell apart. So this is an old one. Back when I was like first getting into survival and outdoor stuff. This was the knife I bought at Cabela's or wherever it was I bought it. I bought this off of Instagram. I don't know if you guys have heard of a Yakut knife. But Yakut in Russia, like the really cold northern Russia, whatever it's called, there's the Yakut people. And the guy who made this is on Instagram, and his handle is Beckwith Forge. And he makes beautiful knives. I really like this. I like the sheath. Just put that on your belt. Has really good retention. Just a big neutral handle, which I really like. And then it has that Yakut grind, where it's hollow on one side, hollow and flat, and convex on the other side. And this is a right-handed knife. So if you wanted it to be left-hand, you would reverse. That side would be convex and that side would be flat. And you can tell when you're cutting with it that it cuts better. Like if I were to turn this over and cut, it really digs into wood and just doesn't cut as good. So this is really like a directional left-handed or right-handed knife. But he makes really cool stuff. I think I have a carving knife from him, and the quality is just, I mean, it's not like super professional, but I mean, one thing I noticed with these smaller guys on Instagram who make knives and sell them, their heat treat is really good. So, I mean, his grind might not be perfect, bevel might not be perfect, but the heat treat on it is perfect. And you're going to get way better edge retention, and you're going to get way more out of the steel with this than you are a lot of knives that you buy from manufacturers, from, you know, companies that aren't hitting the optimal HRC, right? This was another winner on Instagram, Beavercraft. I don't know if you guys ever saw this when it first came out. It's not a bad knife for free. I don't know how much they charge for these, 30 or 40 bucks or something like that. I will say that the blade is decent, the geometry is decent, but this handle shape, it feels comfortable right now, but once you're doing a lot of hard work with it, at least for my hands, this handle becomes not so comfortable anymore. And I did some batoning with it, and these scales loosened right up, and they started shifting. So I don't know. Maybe you could take them out, Loctite them back in. If you're just getting into bushcraft and you want a decent knife for 30 bucks or whatever, I would just recommend getting a Mora. Maybe some other Beavercraft knives are better. I could probably recommend some carving knives from them if you're a beginner. But this is definitely a beginner grade company. Buying anything from Beavercraft is it's an introductory company. I wouldn't buy anything from them if you're already into the outdoors, bushcraft, wood carving, or anything. And that's just how I feel about Beavercraft. K-bar Becker Necker. I bought this off a friend who wanted to get rid of it a long time ago. Beat to hell. Great little knife. Great little neck knife. If you want to carry around, a cut of something that can be used as a pry bar and cut. So the thing with this knife is the handle's small, and it's skeletonized handle, so you can't do any hard work with it because there's no handle. They make micarta scales for it you can put on there. I made these out of I forget what the wood was called, but yeah, I just made my own handle for it. And I kind of wish I would have brought it down to the end here, but I didn't, so that's what I got. K-bar Becker Necker. And this one, I pretty much won off of Instagram too. There's a maker called VPL Knife Company, and he's actually doing a huge giveaway right now, giving away like 8 knives. I was talking to him on Instagram, and I asked him if he had ever heard of a Kephart. And he hadn't heard of a Kephart knife. And he looked it up, and he was so happy that I told him about this knife that he made one for me for free. He makes the blade cover and made me a whole knife. It's kind of got like a convex edge to it. Scandivex, if you will, and he just tried making a Kephart. It's got beautiful cherry wood handle with red liners. It has a distill taper in the tang, which is something you normally don't see with cheap knives. Not saying his knives are cheap. I'm not sure exactly. I haven't bought anything from him, but I know they're not super expensive, right? But this knife is really good. Said the bevels don't look the prettiest, and the plunge grind doesn't look the prettiest, but he hit the heat treat on this blade so good. It's 80CR V2, I think is what that steel is. And that's one of my favorite outdoor knife steels. And this thing carves so good and stays so sharp for such a long time that I would almost rather have this than, a more expensive fancy knife that wasn't heat treated correctly to optimal HRC. This will do exactly what you need it to. It's a cool knife, and I like it. So yeah, that's my little video on my knife collection. Nothing super fancy. Don't have the most knives or the fanciest knives, but so that pretty much sums up the knife collection. It was a easy video for me to make. I don't have a lot of time right now, and it's really cold outside, gets dark early. So I was thinking about doing a carving knife collection video. Here's a little sneak peek. This is one of the rolls I have of carving knives. So yeah, I don't know how many of you are into wood carving or have any questions about wood carving or wood carving knives or anything like that. But I will probably have a video coming out in the near future talking about these. So this is kind of just like a little sneak peek into the carving knives. A little teaser, if you will. So if you don't know what this is, you'll probably find out when I have a video about my carving knives. So that pretty much sums it up. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. And everybody have a good Thanksgiving.